Who is my neighbor? The scriptures talk about your neighbor. Who is my neighbor?
Uh, Again, the easy answer is anybody and everybody's your neighbor. But I'm reading a book, and the author makes a great point. He says the general mind of the evangelical church is we are to love our neighbor, and we all know that. Couldn't be any clearer. But sometimes in this broad, I'm to love everybody, we don't actually love the people closest to us, like our real neighbor, the one that lives next door to us. Because we sort of justify, well, I generally feel loving toward them. And I'm involved with all these other people over here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm loving them. And again, that's an expression of love. I do think maybe sometimes we take the easy way out and we don't really get engaged in a missional sort of loving to the person who lives next door to us. So again, sort of like we answered the first question, I think there's this impulsive answer to say, well, your neighbor's everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But when we look at the word love in the particularly in the New Testament, it's a very demonstrative word. It's not just a feeling. It's not about I feel a certain favor towards somebody. Love, as Christ talked about, and love as the apostles talked about it, was what are you doing to demonstrate love?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the book of First John. It's don't just tell me you love me, show me.
Yeah.
And generally, this is always the equation I've made. Show me you love me, and the best way to do that is to serve, serve my need, or serve the person in need. If you say you love a person, serve. And so, who is my neighbor? Anybody and everybody, but really to love them is not, again, having some sort of positive or favorable affection for them because they haven't made you mad or, ticked you off in some way. But like, I'm cool with that guy. We're good. I think the call of Jesus is love your neighbors. Like, no, serve them.
Yeah.
Show show them that affection that you have for them, that positivity that you have for them. Show them by in some way serving. So again, everybody's your neighbor, but the people who are in fact on the receiving end of your neighboring are those people that serving in some capacity.
Yeah. Well,
What
and
do you think?
I think like neighbor, I would never go to another country and consider my waiter my neighbor. Like there's somebody who I'm supposed to love, but like I don't think about it that whenever I hear neighbor, I think about somebody who's close to me
Mm.
for like a period of time. Like I don't even it's weird because like I don't even think that like going on mission trips, I would not categorize that as like I'm loving my neighbor.
Oh, really? Okay.
Like it depends on how wide you want to make that neighbor word. It's like, well, use neighbor specifically. I don't know what that is in the Greek, but or Hebrew or whatever. No Greek. But um
Oh, so you're wondering if even when Jesus used that exact word, that there was some sort of uh, strict understanding of what it was.
it's like the people you're around is
Okay.
kind of how I view it.
Okay.
And like don't get me wrong, you go on a mission trip, yeah, you're around those people. But like you went out of your way to make them your neighbor. You know, like you flew there
Yeah.
to make them your neighbor, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, yeah, now they're your neighbor for a week, but they're not your neighbor after that.
Right.
And so, which we should be going to the ends of the earth and doing all that. But I don't know.
No, I like that. I think that's good, especially when you have the person who will fly across the globe to another continent and be really, really loving demonstratively loving toward orphans or people in need of water or whatever, but then you're absolutely a lousy neighbor to the person who lives next door to you.
Yeah.
That's drastically wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Or, the people in your life, your family. Like, it kind of goes back to that. We've had discussions about that, like spheres of responsibility.
Right.
First, it's like your family, your wife, and your children, or whatever. And then it's your broader family, your friend group, blah, 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 blah. The responsibility, you know, the circles get wider. And so I kind of see that with neighbor. Not that you don't have responsibility to those people, but like,
Yes. The demonstrative, interactive, intentional service of them is different.
yeah, yeah.
Do you think that's different in a global world connected by media? Like, can you know somebody in Jordan to such a degree that they qualify as your neighbor in your definition?
Um, Probably if we're going with the spheres of responsibility, because like, or if somebody that if you've formed a really strong relationship with that person in Jordan, or somebody moves away, but now some of their needs are going to be better met by someone closer to them.
Okay.
Because you can't just pop over, you know. So, and I think too, like whenever you think about, not that God didn't understand that there was going to be transport, but like a lot of people in that time, whenever Jesus was talking about that, like they weren't traveling around everywhere.
Right.
So it literally just meant like the broadest they probably meant was like their town.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, if you look at the, parable of the Good Samaritan, um, where Jesus is wrestling with their understanding of neighbor, the Samaritan who helps the Jewish traveler, they would not have been next door neighbor.
yeah,
So I think from that parable is where I conclude that neighbor is anybody. But and so then whenever I'm in proximity to anybody, I am to be a neighbor to them.
yeah,
So when I'm in Africa and I'm with those kids or those people at that orphanage or that pastor's conference, in those moments they are my neighbor and I am to serve them.
I agree with you. I think the point I'm trying to make, and here I'll just ask, I think I know the answer to this, but like, how many, we do a lot of mission trips where we go and do like construction.
Mm-hmm.
How many like old people's houses in Fair Oaks Ranch have our students gone and helped?
Right. No,
That's more the point I was trying to make.
Yeah. So I'm saying, yes, while I have a broader
Yeah.
understanding of what neighbor is, any person that I have proximity to, I agree with you wholeheartedly that I have a primary responsibility to those in my immediate living location.
Yeah. And there's no hard and fast rule. It's not like a radius on a map.
Right.
It's like, what's doable?
Right.
You know?
But again, and I've often brought this up in teaching on topics like this, is it bugs me when somebody talks about all the missions trips that they've been on, but they're just a lousy next door.
Yeah.
That always gets under my skin.
Yeah.
Like we'll pay, the $10,000 trip fee to go to Africa, but we won't walk across the street and invite our friend to church.
Yeah.
I think we're missing the love thy neighbor command when that's true.
Yes. And like, whenever I was in the student ministry, we went to South Dakota,
Mm.
and this is whenever I start to think that like some of these mission trips are almost more for the students than they are like for the people that we're going for. Not every mission trip is like this, of course, but like
Right.
this one, we went up there and like did general like yard work mainly, and it's like, well, that's great, and like, but those kids aren't gonna remember us, and like they're only there for a week, maybe they will, but we spent so much money getting all of us up there, and then, but like we could have changed someone's life with that money in our immediate neighborhood
In
that we
downtown
know
San
in
Antonio.
downtown San Antonio for with all of that money.
Yeah.
And it would have lasted a lot longer than the next week when they're going to have to mow again. So,
Okay, I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you. However, I've not always looked at the value of mission trips only being the people that we serve.
yeah.
I think there is something spiritually transformed when you take a kid out of the familiar and the routines of the world in which they live and show them life, what we call outside the bubble here in
Mhm.
the community we live in. And, really see poverty and feel it and feel inconvenience and feel discomfort. Everyone almost always talks about how hot it was or how rainy it was or how miserable it was. Um, I do think there's discipleship value in that.
I agree with that. It definitely gives a perspective on life for a high schooler who says grown up in Bernie,
Yeah.
Texas.
I remember when I was a youth pastor, I was a youth pastor in Dallas, very wealthy area of Dallas. The kids in my youth group, when they turned 16, they were given BMWs and like really beautiful cars. They were very wealthy kids. We went down to the border of Mexico and we did like the vacation Bible school and those kind of things. It marked those kids' lives.
Yeah.
They had never seen poverty like that. And they had never met other kids so impoverished but so much happier than they
Yeah.
were.
Yeah.
And it did. I can still remember them telling about the value of that trip. Um, so I'm a big fan of some of the transformative discipleship that can happen on a missions trip because of the inconvenience and discomfort that often comes with them. It's just so unfortunate we spend so much money getting people to those places that money could have been used enough.
It's, yeah, it's weird. It's a weird line because I agree with you. I think that's it can be very impactful to get that perspective, especially if you've grown up with having so much and you go to a place that has so little. Um, what it does is this weird line that comes in to where it's like, well, are you like, I don't know, I think there's a term for it, but like like poverty vacationing, you know, to like go and give that experience to yourself and then but that experience can also make bring you back and then radicalize you. Cause I mean, like I know whenever I go or like I've been on things, like these people go out of their way to come to church, or like maybe it's dangerous for them to come to church, and then like we come back and our people are like, well, 9:30 is kind of early, and it's like, okay,
Oh yeah, I see that every time I go to Nigeria.
yeah,
Like this funny story. The last our last trip to Nigeria was November of 2024. Um, I spoke at this big pastors conference. It was a church conference. There was 1,200 people there, and they have these offering moments. They get these big buckets up front, and people bring their offering. It turned into a dance party. I mean, these people were joyfully giving. Now,
Yeah.
was there some show? Yeah, maybe. But for the most part, these are people who don't have any extra, and they're bringing this money joyfully. And then I come home
Yeah.
to, affluent Fair Oaks Ranch, and we, like you just said, we run into the harsh reality of the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the rewarding experience, especially for like students, they've gone and their heart's been touched by this experience. Then they come home and they start leaning in and looking for ways to do that here.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty powerful.
We almost need to do, because that's what I'm saying. Because I even said a while ago, like, I think these trips are more for people going on them than they are for the people there. We almost like we had a different name for it. I'd be perfectly fine with it. But it's thrown in to the same lot as the guy who goes and lives in the Middle East in some town for 20 years. Like he's on a mission trip, and then we're on a mission trip whenever we go stay in a nice hotel somewhere, And it's like, well, are those really the same thing?
Right. Right. It's been funny because, we've run into that critique of, our involvement in Nigeria for these many years. I've had elders. I've had an elder once push back on, why are we spending all that money to get you guys over there? Why don't we just take that same amount of money and send it to them? So, I mean, I've heard that and I've lived in that tension. And I'm not saying he's wrong, but here's been an interesting learning for me is how our friends in Nigeria interpret us being present
Yeah.
rather than just sending a check.
Oh yeah.
So there's that side of it that is hard to kind of explain and help someone to understand and appreciate. Like certainly the kids at the orphanage, and then just uh, the team of people that serve that orphanage. There's something very encouraging and affirming and inspiring to have us there,
Yeah.
rather than just be photographs of a place that exists where we've never been and we send lots of money to. There's a power in that, and it's been powerful in my life to know those people personally,
Yeah.
and the things I've learned from Daniel leads the orphanage, the things I've learned from some of the kids, things I've learned from other people I've met in Nigeria. Yeah, it was $6,000 investment, but I came home with some pretty powerful lessons.
Yeah. Well, it's also a place that like we've had a relationship with them for a long time.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes back to that example of like, if you build a good relationship with someone in Jordan or somebody that moves far away, it doesn't make them, lesser. But
Right.
so yeah, I mean that makes sense. And I think even if you do like a short-term mission trip and you keep going back to the same place, which I know is like something that Cibolo Creek is starting to make, um,
Yeah,
our
it's always been a priority, but
yeah,
now we're getting some traction on
yeah,
it because we've just decided we're going to keep going back to the same places.
yeah. Well, that allows for relationships to be built.
Yeah, which has always been the value for us.
Yeah, rather than just popping in, popping out, and never seeing them again.
Yeah, let's not just pop in, pop out. Let's not just send checks. But let's build relationships.
Yeah,
Um, Again, I'm not critical of what other people choose to do, but I've known organizations or churches that, oh, this year we're going to go to China, but next year we're going to go to South Africa, and then the year after that we're going to go to Europe, and it's like you said, it's almost the poverty vacation
yeah,
that I'm going to do, and I get to see the world.
yeah.
and the church funds it for me,
Yes,
which I don't think is the purpose at all.
correct. So yeah, I mean, I'm always very like when it comes to the neighbor thing, it's kind of like with most things that if you make the term so broad, it becomes useless. And so, yes, you should love your neighbor. So if I go on a trip to Italy, yes, I should love those people around me. But for
So
99% of my time and the 99% of my responsibility are to the people that are closer by, you know,
okay, so in a Wyatt definition, who's your neighbor?
those people that are around you. You can go make other people your neighbor, but you probably have to come home at some point. So,
Okay, I like that.
yeah.
I throw that into my neighboring messages.
I definitely think there's for most cases, there's a proximity that I think matters.
Okay. Yeah, I think you mentioned this earlier when you think about the capacities of the first century. Um, their proximity was pretty small. They weren't getting on airplanes and flying to other parts of the world very often.
Well, and like we were talking about in one of our meetings the other day, like the family wasn't breaking up. Like so much of it just isn't been enabled to be, and it's all confused just by
Mm,
our ability to transport ourselves.
right.
Like driving has like there's all kinds of things that you could say have destroyed like the intergenerational way of living, but like the car is probably up there in the top three because people can just leave.
No, the car's freedom.
Yeah, well, and it's where you don't have to take care of your grandparents in their ailing years. You know?
Right. Yeah, I was being facetious.
No, I know.
Oh yeah, I served when I was in college. I had to do internships, and my internships that I served at were all in at a church in Wisconsin, little farming community. Eh, To this day, one of the most beautiful expressions of what we think when we think family. We
Yeah.
lived on these beautiful farms, and there was usually a grandma and a grandpa, and brothers and sisters who either lived on the property or nearby, and they were all in the operation of the dairy farm and baling and picking cotton. I mean, picking corn, and it's beautiful, like
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful. And you're right, it's almost a bygone era now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So all that to say, like it's just confused the neighbor thing.
Yeah,
So, but I still think that we would be better off if we added some closeness to it.
yeah. In my kind of naive imaginings of what the church could, I would love to see like every Christ follower really look at their street, their cul-de-sac as their mission field. And I mean their mission field in the sense of these are the people that I.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about it, then that spreads the church out throughout the entire community because they all live on different streets.
Yeah.
But I don't think we think of it that way
Mm-mm.
very often.
No. Yeah, we like to think that Christians will go all of these different places whenever it should have been, even back then, it was a spread,
Yeah.
you know? This person would go live a little further away and then bring it there and bring it there and bring it there.
Yeah, so this has kind of been my little secret angst or something for many years is, Matthew 18. Go make disciples, go to the ends of the earth and make disciples. So was he meaning, okay, you guys uproot out of here and go to those faraway places? Or was he meaning as the gospel spreads, we'll, we'll take the message of Christ to more people. So here's the tension I live in: is Matthew 18 really the instruction that Cibolo Creek Community Church needs to be involved in faraway places?
Hmm. It's an odd thing because I believe he was talking to the disciples at that point, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And they did go all around the known world. A lot of them, at least. Or at least Paul. But Paul wasn't a disciple,
A
so Paul
couple of
wasn't it.
them,
Peter did.
a couple of them became itinerant missionaries.
Yeah.
But was the point that the entire church would be these international missionaries?
Oh, no, I don't believe that. That's the point I was making. So, like, maybe a few of them were these traveling missionaries.
Right.
Not Paul. I don't know why I said Paul. He's not a disciple. But that was the role he was given whenever Christ did reveal
As an
himself.
apostle, he was a
Yes.
traveling.
But no, I don't think so.
Yeah, so again,
You couldn't like the entire church is supposed to do that? They couldn't do anything.
true. So I've lived in the tension of, in what way do we accomplish that passage in the 21st century as a local church?
Yeah.
And would we be more effective at equipping and resourcing our folks to be really good witnesses of Christ on their street? Would the gospel cover more ground? Is that the spirit of Matthew 8? Or is the spirit, no, try to find as many people as possible in the church and send them to distant places? Again, I'm not saying I got that figured out. I think those things.
Yeah. And you definitely see it both ways. You see one church doing one end of that spectrum and another doing the other.
Right. I think at the end of the day, I think I could say this, maybe not scientifically. Though American church has spent far more time and energy equipping people to go to distant places than they have to go across the street.
Yeah.
Now, again, that may be a cynical take on things, but I've got 30 years here of trying to create a church that lost people, feel comfortable in. I don't mean comfortable like we don't give them the hard stuff, meaning they feel welcomed and invited to engage. And it seems like it's been a wrestling match to really get Christians to accept responsibility for unsaved friends and neighbors who live right.
Yeah. I think that, like, kind of like the fruits of the like are different not fruits of the spirit, but different spiritual giftings.
Mm-hmm.
People have different spiritual giftings. Like some people are very, very more prone to, want to go. They've always wanted to go be a missionary or go on a lot of like that to be their thing. Work for an organization that is all about missions. But like most people aren't. And so in the same like split of, while there were a couple that became, regular missionary, or, they most of them were not. They went and set up churches somewhere or whatever. I think for same thing with, the church itself. Most people are not going to be. They might be able to go do it for a week, but again, then that's like the merit of that. Um, you know. Yeah, so I would definitely lean towards the other. I think
The other being
um, I think that he meant. I don't think that he meant to send everybody from Corinth to all these different places. I think he more meant, well, let's just spread the gospel in Corinth. And maybe a few of you can go to other places, but
Okay.
he'll gift people according to that.
Yeah, again, it might be naive to imagine that to be effective at engaging your street and it spreads. And if they're doing that in Jordan, and if they're doing that in Czechoslovakia, and if they're doing that in Ukraine, doing that in South America, then the gospel's going throughout the world.
Yeah.
Rather than necessarily Americans feeling like, well, I gotta be the one that takes it there.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never so much understood that way of thinking to begin with.
Yeah. And there'll be other people that would disagree with me and you and be very passionate about explaining why you and I are idiots.
They are free to be wrong. I'm just joking. Well, we talked about neighbor, then we started about mission trips and landed back, I think, on the neighbor question.
So who is my neighbor? I like it. A person I'm in proximity with.
Yeah, somebody you're around.
Okay. That'll give us work to do.
I say master that, and if you master that and you want to expand it, fine, you can start expanding it, but maybe do that first.
Yeah, I can't remember, and it's only been recently that I read something or heard a message where the author said something like, you can get people to go to Africa for 2 weeks, but you can't get them to cross the street.
Yeah.
And man, that really, I just thought that said things in a very succinct and disturbing fashion.
Yeah.
It stuck with me. Like, yeah, I need to, again, don't get me wrong, and whoever listens to this, I'm all for the international things that we're attempting to do, particularly the relationships that we're building and going back to the same place, all for it. I just want to also have a church family that's all for going across the street.
Yeah.
And I don't think we do. I don't think that's as prolific or prevalent as it needs to be.
Yep, I'd agree.
So I got work to do.
And again, I think that's the cause of that neighbor word being broadened so much.
Right.
Or not the cause. I think that neighbor word being broadened so much is the cause of that.
Yeah, it's good.
Yep.
Well, it's good to be back having conversations with you
Yeah,
again.
this has been good. Had 3 good conversations.
Have you been posting at all recently?
Mhm.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
I guess I've missed it.
I just recently posted the how to excuse your sin one, maybe last week or week before.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Very good.
very good.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you. We'll see everybody next time. We hope you enjoyed this presentation of Cibolo Creek Community Church. If you did, please consider supporting the ministry of our church. Your donations make a difference. To check out more resources or to share a gift, please visit us at cibolocreek.com. Thanks for listening.